Midlantic, kind of a mortgage company. No phone, again, no chair, and no desk. I was brought into a large room cluttered with boxes and huge stacks of papers all over the floor. There were 2 desks, one at each end, and a table and a chair in the middle near the shelving on the left. Put those papers in order, one supervisor said. Okay. There was no chair or table for me to sit where she was pointing. Where shall I sit, I asked. On the floor, she said. Her tone included a sarcastic, duh, where else? Both women sat comfortably at their desks as I began to work. I thought of my bad back and looked over to the empty table and chair by the shelving. Can I use the table over there? No, she said. People come in all the time to get files, and they need to sit down there. You just have to sit on the floor like everyone else. I noticed that only one sitting on the floor was me. I worked on the floor for about an hour till my back couldn't stand it anymore. I noticed another chair behind a corner that I didn't see before. Can I use that chair, I said. Well, if you have to, but everyone is supposed to sit on the floor, she said. I could have been real sarcastic with her, but I wanted to keep the job, so I brought the chair over to where I was working. It was really tough to sort, bending way over to the floor. One more thing I needed. I got up and took a few empty boxes off a large stack sitting on the far wall and made a circle around me. She says, you can't use those, we'll need them later on, I said. Do you need them right now, I asked. I'm ready to walk out. No, but you can't use them, she answered. I ignored her and began to sort on the boxes. My back instantly relaxed. See, it works much better this way, and I'll have your boxes back on the stack in no time. She didn't say a word. One more word out of them, and I was ready to walk. They went back to their desks and sat down. A very attractive, well-dressed young woman walked in and announced that she worked for my temp agency. She apologized for being late. One of the supervisors pointed to the table. You can sit over there, she said. Wow. I finished sorting the piles while I was working and relocated near the table. Ramita asked if we could work together as a team, so the work was getting done much faster. I enjoyed working with her. She was originally from India, studying for a degree in computer management, and quite intelligent. And guess who was bossing her around? One supervisor came over and asked us not to talk to one another while we were working. Most of our conversation had to do with coordinating the sorting, and it was speeded up dramatically because of our teamwork. Ramita looked her straight in the eye. Well, you'll have to get used to it, she said. Wow, we are working together to get the job done faster. And the woman said, well, hurry it up, she said, and walked back to her desk. Ramita said, I'm out of here today. These people are crazy. I'm glad somebody else recognized that. At lunchtime, I ate in the tiny break room. Several people from the calling area kept coming in to see who I was, but said nothing. I overheard, I don't know, who is he? Well, he better not be from my group. As I walked back to work through the office after lunch, one of the managers in the calling area screamed, Hey you, what are you doing out of your seat? Hey, I'm talking to you. I pointed to where I was going and went through the door. I had my bag with me, so if he followed me, I'd make like a running back and turn right back into him and out the front door. There was no point in talking to this man. He had an attitude that words wouldn't change. The whole place was like that. There was constant shouting matches going on all the time. Some nearly got physical. It went on like this for the next 2 days as I worked at the table with Ramita's replacement, a bright young law student. At the end of the day, we finished the work and left happily. The temp agency called me about going back to do some more work, promising I would be able to have my own chair and table and be left alone. I declined. Income for surveys, in bed with a dog and bird. With no work for several weeks after Midlantic, I decided to take this assignment. I got off the bus and walked into a residential area looking for number 2115. It was a small house. I was about to turn around except for the sake of needing a job. The house was very nice inside, expensive, everything crowded every inch. Walking space was very tight. I was led into a bedroom where I was to work. A cute little horny male fluffy white dog humped my leg as I sat down at a tiny, expensive antique, irregular-shaped pedestal table. The antique chair barely fit me and wobbled as I sat down. It was very uncomfortable. My left elbow kept hitting the bed. The PC dwarfed the table and wobbled with every key I hit, and the shrill "walk, eeks, crack" of the gray parrot every 20 seconds in the adjacent bedroom kept my heart jumping out of my throat. But what was most disturbing was I was aiding and abetting a criminal conning people on the internet via an illegal mail spam operation. I figured this out. I didn't discover this until they shut him down the next day. So I finished the work and left, my left shoe worn out from pushing the dog off my leg, and my ear itching from wax earplugs I kept in my ear to avoid a heart attack from the screeching parrot. The man decided he wouldn't pay me for the work because his operation was shut down. But the temp agency did pay me this time. ProView. I had to use my own beach chair for the first time. No chair, no desk, no phone was set aside for me to use. Temp man for sale or rent. Jobs to let, low percent. No chair, no desk, no phone. I'm back here all alone. About 8 hours of jumping up. Gets a mean old argument. I'm a man of means by no means. Well, I can't sing. King of the temps. I could use a salesman's desk 2 days a week to answer the phone. It was set right under a picture window peering into the owner's office. I could see every move he made from the side. No curtains. The other 3 days I had no place to sit. I used a small shipping cabinet with a slide-out shelf 6 feet from the wall, mounted phone in the warehouse when it wasn't occupied. Other times I just wandered around looking for a place to plant myself. I finally borrowed one of the side chairs in the front entrance. No one really bothered to provide anything for me to work with. I was situated all by myself all day in the warehouse in solitary confinement. Everyone else had a desk, chair, and phone in the office area. I had to answer the phone on the first ring. That was tough, seated in the chair 6 feet away with the phone on the wall. Greg liked to race me to it from his desk to keep me on my toes. When he beat me, he let me know about it. It didn't help me my back any to keep jerking out of my chair to catch the phone before the second ring. Customers were argumentative about telling me who they were. Greg lectured me on not getting me their names and purpose for calling. I noticed that no one else asked who was calling. They just said, "Greg, call on line 2. I had to give full name and reason for calling. Many callers became incensed because I didn't recognize their voice, even the owner's wife on her first call. She often insisted I interrupt Tom's phone calls to patch her in on trivial matters. He didn't like me doing that. This was going to be downhill fast. Every time I answered the phone, it created a problem. Once again, I was being set up. The warranty work was a piece of cake, so the owner, Tom, made sure I was kept busy with guerrilla work. I didn't mind doing the accounting spreadsheet or organizing the brochure display, but I did injure my back carrying up heavy boxes over the mezzanine railing. Dangerous to say the least, climbing on the railing overhead with 50 pounds of paper in my hands. I drew the line on guerrilla work after this, and they took a dim view of my not helping out unloading delivery trucks and doing extensive lifting in the warehouse. Every day I brought ice and put it on my back to relieve the constant pain, and there was no empathy. I ended up terminated and on workman's comp. NOAA Fisheries. Bad to worse. It's official. I have now worked for the government. I've heard the expression, good enough for government work. Now I know what that means. Kevin and I were brought into key data in a new Oracle database designed in Washington to replace the antiquated R base. Big problem here. The 9th law of the universe. Government workers do not like change. We keyed data in for months, and then the program crashed. Programmers, as a rule, do not interface well with people, here especially. Oracle was a bust because no one bothered to ask those who were going to use the program what they needed. We were redirected to work phones and help with the fishing permit work. When I got in the main loop amongst warring personalities, my days were numbered. Add in a little harassment, sexual harassment from Cheryl, and bitterness when I turned her down, and you find yourself on the road again. I had my opportunities to share my faith there, but it was Satan's domain all the way. The hostility toward anything spiritual was overwhelming. There were so many hurting people with closed minds to the one who could help them. Well, Chapter 20. Reflections. Life on Earth is a temporary assignment. After all is said and done, I asked myself, what is my purpose here? Not to be CEO, evidently. Bobby was right about my naivete. The street philosopher was right. People are people. Water seeks its own level. There is no grand purpose to temp life, but to go on to the next assignment and act like it's for your first. When I surveyed all that my hands had done and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless. A chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. I got this out of the Bible, Ecclesiastes, you need to know. Yet there were times when I shared my faith on the bus or even at work, and some listened and valued it. Some even listened and valued it. Most turned their minds away. Where else can you meet people every day but where they go to work and play? Perhaps that's my order of the day. Maybe see you on the next assignment. You got work? Final theme song. Tempt man to share his faith on the job and every place. Faith in Christ alone gets one an eternal home. But 8 hours of punching keys buy some time to talk of God's peace. I'm a man of means by God's means, and I'm one of his own. Gee, I didn't know I wrote that. Wish I could sing. So much more I wanted to add. Never got through that. Trophy Club, remember there. Max Crack's Chapel, marching around the church to claim it. Hojo's in Duncanville, a new wife and his slain punched in the spirit. Billy Graham and Anaheim and back to Texas. Wagon wheel booth, acting coordinator at Eckerd. All these things. So much more I could have added. Well, day by day, you live for the Lord. For the final day, and then there's no more days. It's just eternal life. The latest events at the bottom. All right. So if you want to go down to that, I used to send this to my church, and they want to know what's happening. So this is sequential in time. So they want to know what the latest thing, so you go to the bottom. November 1st, 2003. Okay, 2003. Friends from Texas helped me once again. Since I discovered I probably had cancer earlier this summer, I had been struggling more than usual in everyday things as this weighed heavily on everything I did. What a great blessing that after my resources ran out, you sent me the funds to go ahead with the testing procedure I needed to diagnose my problem. I can't imagine not knowing whether or not I was ill because of not being able to go ahead with the procedure. Although I was advised that I probably did have cancer, the procedure you sent funds for showed it all to be benign. What a relief. Thank you, Bereans, for your gift. The lack of good Christianity. Apparently, Berean Memorial Church sent me the money to go on to the medical testing. Because temp work, you didn't get insurance for health insurance. Otherwise, it's too expensive. The lack of good Christian fellowship here in Florida has been super magnified during these trial months. It has made me appreciate how invaluable it is to have the support and encouragement of fellow believers. I have managed without employment for nearly 6 months, having to share quarters with a little old lady who has many serious ailments herself. Space and circumstances have been extremely limited, so I've been unable to do as much study of the scriptures and posting of studies on the Bible Study Manual's website as I have in the past. On the other hand, I learned of how important investing your life in the spiritual growth of others is one-to-one. And my roommate has been hindered in many ways, not the least of which is by her illnesses and by living all alone after the death of her husband. She is a Christian, but it has been quite difficult for her to get into a regular routine of personal Bible study and application to her life after all that has happened to her and her isolation from people. Older people, it seems, can have a very difficult time changing routines which do not promote a productive and happy Christian life. But then again, the private priesthood of every believer must not be invaded uninvited. It is a delicate task for believers to minister to one another. Recently, I have experienced a number of less than polite extrications from the local congregations, kicking out. The scenario is typical of all of them as represented with Clearview Baptist Church, which I have posted on this website here. Well, let's go to that and see what happened. What happened to Clearview Baptist Church? Way out in Clearview, Florida. I wrote an open letter to Pastor Paul Elmore and Clearview Baptist Church, St. Petersburg, Florida.